I know we've like discussed it a few months ago, but we couldn't quite get it set up the right way. If you could, for the people who don't know who you are, kind of explain who you are, what it is you do, as well as your upbringing, whatever factors that kind of led you to do the kind of work you do today, and anything leading up to the DNC incident before Thugshaker Nation was formed.
100%. My name is Queen Thugshaker. I also go by Rachel. Well, the great question is, where do you start with a life like mine? If I had to pick a jumping off point, I've always been very opinionated for as long as I can remember. I was born in 2002. I was gaining more of a social consciousness around when President Barack Obama was elected in 2008. I did not grow up in a politically charged household, not aligned with any specific faction or party. In fact, if I had to think about it, we weren't allowed to discuss politics at all. Nothing right, left, center, black, white, nothing. It never came up. Maybe about the age of 5 or 6, I started noticing, it's going to sound silly, but patterns in certain demographic groups' behaviors. And whilst this was not the age of woke that we know now in 2025, I could sense, not even on a rational level, but on a spiritual, social, and level of gauging evil in people, that something was amiss. And that the world I was supposed to be raised in, being born in the early 2000s, was gone, obsolete, and non-existent. My father, who I'm very close with and always have been, he's the brightest gem in my life. I'm extremely, extremely close with him. He's a Caucasian man. He, at the age of 1, was adopted by a dark-skinned black family on the south side of Chicago. He was raised by them his whole life as an adolescent. My father, whilst very soft-spoken, stoic, and not conversational, heck, not even very social, we never talked about it. It wasn't really addressed. I knew about them. They were in my life, but it wasn't something we talked about in depth. Him growing up in post-race riot Chicago as a Caucasian child in an all-black and mixed-race family. And that was his right not to discuss, because I can imagine how off-putting and disconcerting that must have been socially and in terms of his identity. A thought in terms of color, considering my upbringing, my mother is a top Persian Jewish woman. She's from her family originates from northern Iran in the Caucasus Mountains. My dad, of course, as stated previously, is an adoptee, but I assume is Caucasian. I didn't have bias, as I would say, directly based on just intolerant hatred or on baseless hatred. There was a catalyst, though, that definitely did change the direction of that. My mother, what I can recount, around the age of 4 or 5, stopped taking care of me in ways that mattered. She did not hold me, hug me. Of course, those are subtle signs of neglect, but I didn't think of it that way. I was a kid. It escalated quite quickly after my brother was born, and I have a hunch she fell into severe postpartum depression. I have an older sibling who was severely, severely autistic and was a mute for a portion of her childhood and mine. The problem was my father also was, as autism does run in my family on my father's side. And he too went silent for a number of years. When you see the effects of cultural confusion, mixing, ambiguity, and the loss of boundaries in respect for how certain groups interact or don't interact in a society, you feel violated. You feel like you're being invaded by aliens. I saw, and I had this conversation with my father many years later. What did practically being raised in a black culture do to you as a white kid? He didn't answer. He just, we don't talk about it. And I really understand why. Fast forward maybe 4 or 5 years, I was 10, 11 years old. My mother's abuse and neglect and emotional manipulation of how I was perceived by people. For context and why this started escalating, I was born with a hermaphroditic condition. Some people call it intersexuality. I had a procedure to fix certain aspects of myself at birth. That was my parents' choice, and I am happy they made that choice so I could live semi normal, physical, and healthy life. I'm glad they did. However, due to the intersex condition, it leads to more complications than people know about. I know this might sound a little absurd, but I can't stress this enough. I am basically incapable of interacting with biological women in social settings, in any type of social setting. I wouldn't say it gives me anxiety because I don't feel anxiety in the slightest. I don't know how to register what anxiety would feel like or fear or nervousness. Imagine being born. When you're a baby, you don't hate. You can't fathom what hatred truly is. Imagine coming out and being raised with such rigidness and such overtly unnecessary high standards for a child, while also dealing with very highly elevated testosterone. When I entered kindergarten, within 2 weeks of my first year of kindergarten, my first day of kindergarten, I had to be forcibly separated from every girl in my elementary school because I would either verbally harass them to the point where they would cry or I would beat the living shit out of them. I don't like reminiscing about this proudly because it's not okay to just obviously hurt your peers. It's a mental block so severe for me that I don't make this a priority to do in my life. Harass women. That's not something I like doing. I'm so off put and disconnected from a female wired brain because I do not have one. My chromosomes are XY. And this leads to a plethora of issues in terms of how my mind develops, heals, and processes. But I must say, is it's almost as if I could sum it up, an innate, inherent, and built-in distrust, dislike, and disgust of other girls. This was not my choice, and frankly, I would rather not have it be this way, as it has affected me down the road severely. All of these social ostracization factors I had to deal with, being considered a special kid, a kid with a high IQ, a kid with certain abilities and aggression issues. I didn't have semblance of how to properly interact. I was isolated. I didn't have interest in politics because it was never talked about, as I said. My father, on my 11th birthday, gifted me a very rare and valuable book of essays by Dr. Murray Rothbard, the anarcho-capitalist thinker, a joint essay book with David Duke, the Grand Wizard of the KKK. I obviously didn't know what this was. I said, what does this mean? I loved reading, though. I would pick up anything. He said, just flip through the pages, see what you think. It might be a little hard for you, but you're a smart kid. He always encouraged me.
Who was it who gave you this book? Who was it who showed you? It was
My father had begun talking
your father.
again
Okay.
shortly before he had unmuted, as I call it. I said, you got it, Dad. I'm very grateful for the gift. I don't know how the universe aligned that perfectly. I had never felt understood through literature, through research, through just pure rationale of what the country was headed towards. When I opened the first couple chapters of that book, I felt bliss. Because you know why? It brought together all these horrific societal problems I was witnessing. And it all started to click. I wouldn't say it was a black pill, a red pill, a white pill. I wouldn't use those terms. It was just the truth. The truth is that I had deduced at that time as a pre-puberty kid going into middle school, I had deduced we're being taken over by something very sinister. The forced tolerance that I encountered going to middle school and high school from the years 2013, 2019, I saw very mentally ill children off their breasts to become transgender. I saw race mixing in my school. I saw kids being doped up on pharmaceuticals they did not need. I saw excuses for horrifically gross behavior that they could get away with because they're a minority. They're trans. They're this, and that. Excuses, excuses. I never got an excuse. Of course, me being what I would consider quite rational thinking, level headed, I didn't tolerate this. Fast forward, middle school was pretty dull. I wasn't politically vocal back then. I didn't say anything. Let's say the year is 2016, first day of high school. I didn't know what to expect. I was excited to start. I was a really good student. I did a lot of clubs. I was a music prodigy too. I got into a very good music program at my school. I walked into that door. I grew up in a rural suburb of Ann Arbor, Michigan, this lower peninsula. I could smell the and sodomy and disgusting dysgenic behavior of these entitled leftist brats. I was full fronted with what some people would call degeneracy. And I was appalled, shocked, and scared that this is where my generation was heading. Glorifying being lazy, glorifying being weak, autistic, making up lies to excuse behaviors that they should not be doing, having no agency. I was fed up. You know what? On that first day of high school, in my mind, I threw my hands up in the air and I said, "F this shit. They're gonna have to learn the truth eventually. How about Rachel does it?" I luckily had a good group of friends, all males. Back in those days, we would call them an edgelord, shitposter, meme lord, whatever the term was. I don't remember, but I bought Milo Yiannopoulos' book Dangerous, which came out that year, and I read it. I read it with my friends. In October of that year, I showed up to my school with about 6 other of my friends wearing tinfoil hats with ANCAP flags as capes and jean jackets. We marched through the cafeteria in the morning where everyone gathered. And I went up to the table of these fat, white trash, dysgenic, waste of life, who had nothing better to do with their time and had such an egregious lack of personality that they think bitching and whining about something that's not even relevant to them, I mean, that wouldn't even make them interesting, and decide to make it their personality and affect the entire culture of the school. Not on my watch.
And this was the
Marched up with
first time. This was the first time you kind of your
tour.
first political
Public
public
tour.
kind of provocative
Right.
political point. This is the first time you did this in high school. Okay, gotcha.
Freshman year up. I approached this table of dysgenic freaks and I said, "What's up, guys?" You know, they were all terminally online too. They immediately recognized the symbolism of the tinfoil hat and the ANCAP flags and the yellow and black. What? Yeah. And they said, "We don't want you around us. You're making us feel threatened." And I said, "You know what? I think you being a fat is going to threaten the livelihood of this country's future. And you know what? You're going to be buried with your birth name." A lot of people overheard this. It drew a crowd. And one of the ringleaders of this trans cult clique was so egregiously and up and mentally ill that she went into the bathroom and did the shallowest cut across her wrists. She clearly had BPD, obviously, they all do. And publicly tried to kill herself because I misgendered her. Because she tried to be a shitty looking fat little boy, but wore dresses and used a female name. So insisted she was something else. And when they wheeled her out in the ambulance in front of all those poor other kids who didn't want to see that shit, I yelled at her as she was being wheeled out, "That gravestone's gonna look real good on you." It escalated quite quickly. I was known across my school and my county for having maybe one of the first ever shitposting accounts, major ones on Politigram, which is political Instagram. The name of the account was God of the Congo. And the profile picture was the Waco compound burning to the ground in the 90s. I was very inspired by these domestic incidents. Not that I would commit one, but that what drove these people so deeply to do domestic terrorism in the name of white empowerment. I don't identify as white. I think that would be rude. White people have helped me more in my life, pretty much than any other group of people. The Jewish community I was raised in abandoned me. I'm banned from my synagogue. If I step foot on there, I'm getting arrested. That's trespassing. Jews sold me out to the pharmaceutical industry. Jews labeled me retarded. Jews said, "You're a menace and an embarrassment. You have no essence of being a Jew." And I said to my rabbi when I refused to have a bat mitzvah, which I did refuse to have, I said to him, "I'm not a Jew, but you sure darn are." And I don't. Do I hate myself for being Jewish? I wouldn't say that. There's some good and bad parts about it. How I see it, these demographic groups that cause a lot of trouble for normal, hardworking Americans and other people, regardless of race, they do it because they are so butt deep in a victim complex they refuse to change. Do you know what that is? That's childish behavior. I've never seen myself as a victim. Being a victim and dwelling in that notion is a choice. You can raise yourself up. Everyone can. And this idea of raising yourself up by your bootstraps, which I think is a great inspirational thought. I notice these minority groups, these arising hyper woke, focused on groups like blacks, low income people, homeless people, felons, immigrants, wastes of life in general, I did not approve of. Not a whole as a group. There's that bad eggs in every bunch, right? Bad apples in every bunch. But what they embody is just pure resentment of progress and laziness. And by the time I reached junior year, I was on track to graduate early. I had a 3.95 all of high school. And life was looking good. Life was looking good. For years before that, maybe 2, I started developing schizophrenia. And for another part of that, my whole life I knew I was antisocial. I had severe aggression issues. As embarrassing as this sounds, I have a very complex time feeling remorse and empathy. In fact, I don't know what empathy is. I don't know the definition of that word. Is this a problem? Sure, it is. But it's also saved me a lot of trouble and drama. If I don't like you, we're not talking. We're not hacking it out. We're not going to the same parties. If you are causing me, indirectly or indirectly, problems due to your made-up identity, no. Hell no. I'm not wasting my time on you. Not happening. I have priorities in life, and I have things to accomplish. I was expelled from my high school in Michigan because the same girl who tried to kill herself in freshman year, she slanderously said I had told her to get raped by a black person, even though that was like her thing was to have sex with black men in high school. I mean, that's not my business, but I just said the truth. That's apparently the truth's not allowed. Okay, I got expelled. Yada yada. Walked out of there with a middle finger. Got my diploma online within 2 months. Never went back home. I hopped around the East Coast and the Rust Belt, working as a machine operator on a drill press and lathe. Lived in Rochester, New York, Buffalo, around Ohio, rural Pennsylvania sometimes. I was traveling on Amtrak's. It was a good time. This time my schizophrenia was getting really bad. I was becoming more violent and aggressive with the antisocial tendencies. I went back home to Ypsilanti, Michigan to go to college. Just try and level myself out. Eastern is a predominantly black school. I got along well with them, but that's because I wasn't on campus interacting with them. I moved into a trap house, large old mansion from the 1890s. When I moved in with my good friend, and a lifelong best friend, a National Socialist black metal drummer who's also a prostitute, and her best friend, who's a Navajo midget who smoked meth and cooked and manufactured psychedelics and research chemicals. Best experience of my life. A couple other things go along. The world gets worse. People get more. I say, fuck this shit. I'm going back to Chicago. I moved to Chicago after college in late June of 2024, so less than a year ago. Settling into my new apartment. I get a call that my lifelong best friend and roommate when I was working in Rochester as a machinist had killed himself and someone else. I've never felt grief like that. I can't recognize my own emotions. I choose not to because that would be a waste of my time. I have other things to do, as I said. And I heard my first crush, my first attraction, my first true and tried friend who had protected me from the horrors of this clown world had taken his life and that of someone else in the most egregious, horrible way possible. It clicked. It hit me like a ton of rail cars. He did this because of society. I knew him inside and out. He was a big Sam Hyde fan. He liked $1 Million Extreme. He liked InfoWars. Huge Trump supporter, had Trump flags, libertarian flags all over our house. An exemplary, intelligent person and white man. He ended everything he had because entitled, low IQ, and as I say, I've said this many times, wastes of air drove him into a sense of social isolation so severe there was no other possible way out. The normalization of horrifically inappropriate and immature behavior is not uncommon in today's day and age. If people acted the way they do now, let's say, not even 15, 20 years ago, we'd gay bash your ass. We'd call you a dirty, stinky little and we'd tell you to go back to the projects. Because we don't tolerate normal people who want to have a nice life without fucking drama. Don't demand other people do the hard work. And don't demand people pull their weight. If you don't want to contribute to society in meaningful and creative ways, get the fuck out. I am a right-winger. I have never been fooled into this left-wing, selfish, spoiled brat bullshit, because I never had the support to be a spoiled brat. I'm not saying I wasn't loved. My dad loves me very much. My mom drove away everyone who could have potentially helped me and loved me. I've never had support from her. Coming into my room and shrieking at me, "You're nothing. You're nothing. You're a sociopath. People hate you. They're embarrassed of our family because of you." After a while, you can't tune that out.
This was as a child?
I had very few. Yes, it was as a child. This started maybe when I was about 6, after my brother was born, and I don't know if this was postpartum depression. I don't know what made her act like this, or just severe narcissism. She knew I had these issues with being, surprised by things. It's not autism. I don't have autism. It's just I don't like that suddenness and that out of nowhere behavior. I would be sitting in the basement playing with my toys, blocks, trains, whatever, and she would just come down to do laundry. Stop. Turn. Look at me. "You're a disgusting piece of shit, Rachel." Walk away. Of course I can't respond. I don't want to talk back to my mother. The lie I told myself for the longest time was that I had the support of my community. I'm in Jewish community or ethnic community of my family. I no longer speak to probably a good 80% of my family for very good reason. I do not want it to be that way. It's actually viscerally uncomfortable for me to have to admit I choose not to talk to my family. When people consistently and for really no based in fact reason ostracize you for things you are completely incapable of controlling, for me that would have been the way I presented, the way I dressed, my condition with my hormones and intersexuality. I'm very intelligent. I know what I am. I got
Can you
so
tell us
sick. Pardon?
Sorry. No, continue.
I'm going to say one more thing about my childhood. I never tolerated bullshit from anyone, especially women. I don't have time for losers. I'm going to end it right there.
Do you still have problems with women today? Like, is it hard for you to interact with them?
Socialize.
Still?
I
Okay.
refuse.
And you mentioned
Touch,
that, so you had the
and
tinfoil
discuss.
hat. Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
If I was forced into a situation with women, I would probably just become aggressive and make a scene,
Okay.
which is not cool. I don't want to be that way.
So back to the activism kind of part. You mentioned that there was the tinfoil hat incident at your school. That was like kind of your first moment of political activism. Could you explain a little bit more about your kind of first real your first real interaction with it at the DNC event in August?
100%. Clear for context, I don't have a party. I'm not registered. I don't actually have a formal ideology on either the right or the left. I'm politically
Uh-huh.
ambiguous. That's a term for myself.
Absolutely. Yeah, even I have trouble understanding what exactly is you represent. So I'm
And
hoping
you
we
never
can
will.
kind of
You
figure that
never will.
out.
That's not for you. Excuse me. The DNC. Oh boy, where do we start with the DNC? On August 18th, 2024, it was about a little over a month after my friend had shot himself. I was doing better. I was functioning, eating, sleeping. Things were fine. Working. I woke up around 8 o'clock. My boyfriend was already up. I said to him, completely out of nowhere, "I think I'm going to go to the Democratic National Convention today in Union Park with a big sign that says fuck." And that's exactly what I did. My lovely boyfriend, who I'm still with, who lives with me, drove me to the Harlem Green Line station on the south side of Chicago. Took an hour-long ride up to Union Park, which is way on the north side. Your United Center, which is where the DNC was held. I dressed up in all black, yellow Air Forces, a yellow ushanka, which is a Russian hat, sunglasses, and a purple wig. I was beaming and smiling the whole time on my way there. I hid the sign on the train. I just flipped it over so no one could see it. I walked into the park. People were trickling in for the Palestine protest. I went up on some bleachers behind a baseball field. I took out the sign. People didn't really see me because I didn't look outlandish at that point. I cleared my throat, looked down at my feet. I held up the sign that said, "Race war now." The screams I heard from these leftist cuck gave me a mental boner of an excitement seeing their confusion and their lack of awareness of not only themselves but the situation at hand and what they were even protesting for. I had full-grown men approach me saying, "I would rape you if it was legal." And I said, "Well, I would fuck your dog if it was legal too, bitch." I said everything I had been waiting 20 years to say. And I let that shit out. Oh, now we're in. People start noticing the sign more. Media starts showing up. I self-dox. Because who the fuck cares? Who the fuck cares? This is America. You should not have fear of losing your life and reputation and job for having a opinion. People start approaching me, asking for photos, taking photos of me, slyly trying to hide their phones, trying to follow me around. It was a massive success. On the first day of the DNC, I landed 20 interviews. I was there for 13 hours on my feet in 85-degree heat. I go home, turn off my phone. I didn't have social media. I was off social media. I went to sleep. And I would deal with the fallout later. I wake up, decide to download Twitter. I had a ghost account, but I had no followers. I never used it. I see an Ian Miles Chong video of me. I mean, Rachel, that's me, holding the sign that said, and he said, "Who is this girl?" And I commented, my first ever Twitter comment, "Oh yeah, hi, that's me. What's up, big?" 1.6K followers in one day. I was amazed. I didn't expect it. I go back. I go back very early. I race to get my clothes on. I bring the sign and I go. I go there with a couple friends I knew from my neighborhood on the south side who were there, make sure nothing happened to me physically. I go into the park. I'm there for 2 hours doing interviews, yelling at people, being a complete dipshit in public. I called crackhead Barney a worthless to her face and that her dad's belongs up her ass. She had nothing to say. Pathetic bitch. I am approached by a group of young men in their 20s, wearing costumes, holding flags, looking absurd. There was about 21 of us. They run up to me. They said, "We have been looking for you. You have to join us." I said, with all due respect, "I don't know you. You look fun. Let's do it." Those people are the Thugshakers of Thugshaker Nation. A masterful shitposting and troll team.
Did they call themselves that before meeting you?
No, I came up with that.
Okay, who did they align themselves with prior to, like, did they tell you who they were? Like, who exactly?
We just put a lot of faith in each other to make this work.
And this was kind of the birth of what you call Thugshaker Nation.
100%.
And you did say you're politically ambiguous, but what exactly does Thugshaker Nation do? What do you guys represent? What is the goal here?
The
Because
end
I'm
goal,
having a hard time understanding what the point of you holding that sign up was. What was your overall goal for that?
it, and I can articulate it the best way I can. There's a lot of reasons I did that. I want these brainwashed, indoctrinated, lazy thinking American populace that is leftism is a disease that has taken over the American mind.
Uh-huh.
Most people identify as leftist, whether they are or not, just to avoid the flack. I want people to think for themselves. Did she mean it as a white supremacist thing? Is this a troll? What does she mean? And that's the thing. It has no direct messaging. It's purely interpreted. You can be interpreted. It's interpretational, as I would say.
Okay.
Whatever that sign means to you, run with it. And if you're too shallow and to understand it, get the fuck out of my way.
So your main goal was to basically have people engage in critical thought
Yes.
with that sign because you feel like that is what this generation is lacking so much of, is to think
Exactly.
critically. Okay.
Yep, hit the nail on the head.
And this was the birth of Thugshaker. This is where you met all those people, and most of the people that you met still in the organization now today.
Let's get into that. Our crew that I met is predominantly fascists, gay men, colored people you wouldn't expect to be right wing, right?
That's why it's a little confusing with the whole alt-right thing, and when you put it with the N-word on the sign. But there are black members in Thugshaker Nation. There are gay members. There are trans members.
Absolutely.
So I think that's what people find a little confusing.
Would it be
But-
fair to say that the methods that you use to provoke aren't necessarily indicative of your own personal beliefs?
Oh, no, they're not.
Okay.
Some of them are. Some of them are not.
Would you
Our team was-
elaborate on that?
Scenario. Do I, at my core, want to throw every person I may not find aligns with my standards of presentation and perception in a gas chamber? That sounds like a lot of work that I don't want to do. What I do think is that if you dwell as a minority, when this is America, this country was founded so none of those labels matter. You work hard, you take care of your family and your people. Done. I don't care if you're brown, black, pink, purple, or got 3 dicks on your head. You take care of your business and leave others alone. If I see an entitled brat changing their gender and name every 30 seconds, trying to get in my face, telling me how I should run my country where I'm a citizen of, my parents are a citizen of, that I love living in. I love living in. I'll call them a fat to their face and tell them to kill themselves, because I don't like people who think they know everything when they don't even know themselves. That's do I hate minorities as a whole? No, not really. Some of them I don't, not fond of, but not across the board. Do I hate kids who can't control themselves and contribute anything to society? Yeah, I fucking hate them. Those are not cool with me.
I
People who
see.
can't
I'm
No.
sorry. Go ahead.
People who can't critically think for themselves in any capacity or refuse to, fuck them.
And so, like, the way you went about it is kind of like just a very different way of getting people to engage in critical thought. It's very provocative, and because of how crazy it was what you did, there have been there's been a lot of speculation that you could be involved with a federal agency. It's no it's no secret that the FBI in the past has been involved with employing people who are put in certain situations to provoke. Um, what do you say to people who accuse you of
I
being
think
somewhat of an agent provocateur, specifically working with or for the FBI?
I think those people need to get the fuck off their high horse and get their dick out of their ass. I'm 22 years old. I just got out of college. I worked in a carnival in Oklahoma smoking meth. Do you think they want me? No. Do I want to work for them? The feds. No. If you are so wrapped up in glowy culture, in fed, if you are so paranoid that you accuse someone who actually did something of importance and significance, and just because they're Jewish, they're this, they're that, cope harder. If you want to call me a fed, don't interact with me, because I'm sick of hearing it. And frankly, it's offensive. I don't fuck with it, because I'm not.
I see.
I don't want to watch people.
Sorry, go ahead.
I don't want to watch you people. I don't give a shit about your lives. I have enough bullshit going on in my life. I think I want to delve into yours? Fuck you.
Right.
Not you.
And
Yeah.
and kind of that's okay. And kind of back into like your organization, you know, you've had a few of your members involved in controversial events. Specifically
Now,
there was a case involving a minor, the rape of a minor, and two members of your group were charged with that crime. One of them being Shannon Simpson. And feel free to interject if I'm wrong about any of this information. But for those of you who don't know about Shannon Simpson is a ex-Ohio National Guardsman who was initially deployed during the George Floyd protests in 2020. He was later dishonorably discharged after he was found. It was found he was connected to a YouTube account that went under the alias Zoltanus HN, which expressed neo-Nazi ideologies. In addition to that, he was found to be a participant in a Telegram channel which was known as Rape Waffen, Rape Waffen Division, a division that claims to be a splinter of Adam Waffen Division, both far right neo-Nazi groups. Rape Waffen is a group that promotes explicit harm against women,
and
neo-Nazi,
children.
and children. Yes, neo-Nazi ideals, white supremacy, and oddly enough, Satanism.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and he wasn't the only U.S. member that was found to be participating in the Rape Waffen Telegram group. Another one who was recently sentenced to 45 years in prison for attempting to set up his own unit, his own military unit, in an ambush. He went by the name of Ethan Meltzer. Before Zolt joined you, did you know this about him? Because all of this information was very readily available, and I'm guessing he joined you. You know, you didn't. So you never knew about his past. You never knew about his involvement with Rape Waffen. Do you know anything about Rape Waffen? If you could you tell me about Rape Waffen?
Rape Waffen, some of the members are adjacent, and this is all newfound knowledge through my own research. They're adjacent to the Order of the Nine Angles, which is known for producing massive amounts of child pornography, with some victims as young as 5 years old. I don't try to dwell on this. Had I known about this, I would have never associated. I didn't know anything about Shandon. I didn't know who he was. I was off social media for years. Had this been brought to my attention, and I wish it was, he would have never been involved. It's actually a great shame of mine. Kept me up a lot at night.
And you ended up working with the federal authorities when this all went down, correct? Well, I mean, you assisted them in the investigation.
If I may make a disclaimer, to every insecure moral asshole who called me a pedophile and enabler of pedophilia, when I found out that that girl, that poor lovely, kind girl. Shandon is 28 years old. When I found out she was 15, I called the FBI tip line, left my name, and I was sobbing in disgust. I vomited on the floor of my apartment when I found this out.
Could you tell
If
us
you
about how
think
you
I
found out?
enabled this, you have a stick up your entire ass. I called the authorities immediately. I went to the FBI office on Roosevelt to talk to 2 agents. This is something that never should have happened.
Could you tell us how this information sort of came to light? Like, how did you find out about this girl and Shannon's activities?
I had met the girl at a party. I liked her. She's trans. Very nice girl. Very smart. I had been told she was 19 years old. She's quite mature looking. I believed it. Didn't have reason not to. I invited her to my birthday party on the 21st of September. It was a massive party. Many, many, many people came. Shannon was there, and they became acquainted. She did not like him romantically and had no interest in pursuing a romantic relationship with an adult. Her handler which is a gross term for a pedophile who pimps out kids. It's called a handler. Had brought her. Of course, I was fine with it because I had met her and was led to believe she was 19 years old. No harm, no foul. Shannon becomes obsessive and starts stalking her and insisting they meet again. She was very passive and didn't say that she was scared of him. And hindsight, I should have checked in. But I didn't know she was a minor. I invite her to my house maybe a week later for a smaller party with the Thugshaker administration and members. Shandon goes into the closet while I'm out at the liquor store buying some drinks and some soda. I was gone for maybe 30-40 minutes at the Walgreens. I return. Her bra is off. She's sweating. I go into the closet that I'm in right now, and there's semen stains on a mattress that Shandon had been sleeping on. Of course, I thought, okay, well, they had sex in my apartment, no big deal, they're adults, because I thought that was the case. I was a little grossed out, but I said, okay, whatever. That was Shandon losing his virginity for the first time. A day later, Shandon comes up to me and says, you know, that girl. I said, yeah, what about her? She's 15. I'm apoplectic, inconsolable. I say, you have to stop talking to her, and we have to make this stop immediately. Shandon has BPD and is extremely manipulative. Anyone could fall for his grift and his lies. He insists that he would be good for her, he would guide her. I say, that sounds and I don't want to be involved. Get out of my house. If you want to go with 15-year-olds sexually, I can't have part in this.
So when he refused, were you the one who made the initial call about this?
Yes.
Okay, so you were the primary reporter to the
It was.
police when he refused to stop seeing this
Seeing her.
15-year-old girl. Okay.
He gets so much flack online when this all comes to light about the abuse that he sends a fake breakup message to a different account that says they broke up and screenshots it, clears it all up, everything's fine. About a month goes by of no contact, and this girl contacts me and says he's still raping me and objectifying me and making me starve myself and cut myself. He almost made her, and I think she might have, cut his name into her thigh. This prompts me to contact the authorities again.
So you had to call them twice.
Yes.
What was done after the first call? I mean, wasn't anything done? Was there an arrest
No,
made,
this
or
is the most shit part of it. They're not pursuing it like they should.
okay?
And he now has a warrant out for his arrest. But
He
there
now
is
has a
no,
warrant, and is this warrant for that specific incident?
no, he beat me up and his boyfriend, his former boyfriend.
Okay, so the warrant's for an assault on you.
Yes, it
Okay.
is. And they're refusing to pursue it for whatever reason.
Why is it that you think they're refusing to pursue that? Because
Shannon's a federal informant.
I saw recently that he was on YouTube giving galaxy gas to homeless people, and this is a fairly recent video. I think it's about 2 months old.
Yes,
So
it
I'm
was
just
at the
trying to wonder,
Harlem,
like,
at the
right,
Harlem
right.
Green Line.
So how is he free? How is he able to do these things? You're asserting that he may be a federal informant. That's why you think they're letting him do this.
Yes, I do. I think he works for the feds to start and defame the movement that is the right wing. I think he's a moralless and soulless individual with no actual values.
And when's the last time you contacted him? Has he tried to contact you after all of this? I mean, what's been going on?
Mutual blocking. We don't,
Okay.
like, hands off. Hands
Have
off.
you ever been afraid for your safety? Because I know there's
Yeah, he
there's
put out a
rumors
hit
that
on me
he's
that's
still
still active.
really okay. So there's a hit on
I
you,
have a hit out on me from the Latin Kings.
really, and
Yes,
so you're basically in fear of your own safety at this point because of Shandon, because of this.
I don't leave my house. I have to work remote. I have not left my house for serious commitments probably in a month, 2 months. I don't feel scared. I feel absolutely tricked and absolutely enraged. I want something done about this. And it doesn't, not even me. A child was raped in my house. I can't live this down fully, and I don't know if I ever will. I worked my career. I started in suicide prevention, drug counseling, and adolescent group therapy. I was a social worker. I devoted and planned on devoting my entire career to protecting vulnerable children and abused and trafficked kids. It's unfathomable this has happened.
So, I mean, so I'm just wondering. So there's been no contact whatsoever. I mean, nothing.
Not for way over a month, but two
What
even.
what leads you to believe that he's a federal informant, other than him basically just getting away with it?
I've heard this from multiple anonymous accounts messaging me on both the left and the right. In fact, some very notable Wignats accounts have been like, you can't be near this guy. He's hired by the FBI to defame the right. I liked Shandon. I liked being his friend before he started acting this way. We had a great brother relationship. I really did like him. And that's also a big part.
Did you meet him after the DNC event, or did you know him before?
He was at the DNC, and that's where he introduced himself to me.
So that's kind of, he was one of the first people kind of in the Thugshaker Nation organization.
Co-founder.
He was part of the group. He was part of the group that came up to you.
Yes.
Okay, and you just didn't know what he was involved with. You didn't know the extent. You didn't know about
I
the
had
rape
no
law from Telegram or anything like that.
I had no clue who he was.
Do you think that he was already involved with federal agencies prior to your meetup with him?
Yep.
And you think maybe that's maybe why he acts this way because he feels that he can just get away with it.
Bingo.
Okay. Um, Kind of want to switch gears a little bit. I know that there was some drama between you and Milo Yiannopoulos. Could you go into depth on that? How it started? What's
Really
going on with it right now?
Yeah, sure. There's some parts I will leave out for legal reasons. But
Absolutely, yeah.
yeah, why not? Let's get into it. After the DNC, and I had downloaded Twitter, I was added to several group chats. One of them was Milo's crony chat of shit posters and whatnot. People I didn't care about or knew about. He had messaged me in the chat, and I thought it was an impersonation account of him. I didn't believe it was him. I clicked on the profile. Bam, it's Nero. On Twitter, that's his handle. He gives me his number. Seems pretty nice, pretty cordial, polite. Was a fan of him at one time. I said, yeah, I'll message you. Sure. We start talking. We start talking about the activism, the trolling. He was quite nice, actually. Until he wished me a happy birthday, even. On the 21st of September. It was very kind of him. A girl, an e-girl, not a girl, an e-girl, had been staying with me for about a week and a half. Her name was Nikki the Hegelian. She was a severe drug addict, sex addict, and overall loser bitch, who I despise. She's off the internet now because of me, because she owes me $500 in cocaine money that she stole. Milo enters the Thugshaker's Anonymous group chat, which Nikki and the Thugshakers were in and are close friends. It was about a 40-person group chat on Twitter. Milo is added. Shandon jokes, and we joke. Wouldn't it be funny if someone beat up Nick Fuentes at his house? We laugh it off, move on to the next topic. It was a joke. Milo says in a screenshotted tweet, text chain, I am interested, ... or something. I get a text from him that says, well, it implies that this should happen. Of course, I'm uncomfortable with this because that's not what I want to do with my time, is beat up Nick Fuentes. Like, I don't know the guy. I don't have beef with him. I don't know much about him. Why would I do that?
So you're saying Milo had something to do with this Nick Fuentes incident? He was the one who
Well,
kind of...
he sends me unprompted $350 in Apple Cash. He says, well, someone's got to do it. And honestly, I felt a little threatened. He says, find someone to do it. I said, okay, what do you want this person to do? He says, print out a piece of paper with the birthing contest between Nick Fuentes and Milo Yiannopoulos. Who can impregnate a woman first? Which was a bit he was doing in the fall for several weeks. I thought that was all he wanted me to do, was find someone to put this letter in a mailbox at his house, walk away. It's not illegal to drop off a letter. I thought it was fine. I contact an associate of mine, who, unbeknownst to me at this time, was in the Gangster Disciples, which is a violent street gang in Chicago. I say, hey, my buddy wants you to drop this off. Can you just put this in a mailbox? I don't have a car. Thanks. Given the money because I was told to. Takes it because, hey, free money. This associate of mine goes to the LaGrange house. LaGrange is a town in Chicago, outside Chicago. Little was I aware, Nick's parents were there. They see this black man on the porch knocking on the door. Of course, he fucked it up and interacted. And there is almost a shootout between Mr. Fuentes, Nicholas's father, and this individual. I'm petrified. Milo finds out because he wants to report back. He tells me to delete everything. He's frantic, typing all caps. I'm petrified. I don't know what to do. So yeah, I took a couple screenshots, but the rest is gone. I'm sure he has it though. He's a snake.
And you still
I
have those
did
screenshots, correct?
couple, yeah,
Okay.
which have been turned over to the police. We don't interact for a while. A couple months go by, maybe 2, 3. He starts interacting with this Pariah the Doll character, who's a very mentally ill e-girl online. I don't know how they got involved. I don't want to know how they got involved. But now she's living with him in his mansion in California. This girl's like 25. He's 40. Of course they're adults. It just doesn't look good, right? No, it doesn't. I wouldn't let my kid do that. I start seeing more content from this Pariah character online where things look a little off and not consistent with her former posting before she interacted with him.
What was different about it exactly?
She's posted photos of massive bruises on her legs. Massive bruises in the shape of fists. That's what they look like, at least. And Milo posts one thing that really did set me off and prompt me to expose this and whistleblow on it was he says, and I quote, "I love having a house troon," because she's transgender. And that doesn't sit right with me at all. She shaves her head. She starts considering herself a boy again. Nothing about this looks good. I say, if he wants to be a creep and an irrelevant weirdo and just not ideal person to associate with, fuck you and your career. I post about it. The day of the Nicholas Fuentes trial where he pepper sprayed that woman. I go to the Maybrook Courthouse in Oak Park, Illinois, which is outside Chicago. I hold up a big cardboard sign that says, "I have information that will lead to the arrest of Milo Yiannopoulos in the involvement of the assassination attempt of Nicholas J. Fuentes, #Thugshaker Nation." The photo gets about 14,000 views on Twitter in a short amount of time. People start asking questions. I then contact the Berwyn and LaGrange police, and I'm asked to come in and talk to them and turn over evidence, which I have. If Milo wants to cope with irrelevancy and his, because yes, he is gay, there is no such thing as being ex-gay. If you're a, that's what you are. Cope harder. He's not a Catholic. He's a Jew. It's an Ashkenazi Jew. He's partially. The grift is up. He's done. He should have been done years ago. Him keeping tabs on random people being involved in constant hysterics and drama makes everyone on this side look terrible. I hope he gets deported.
And I think has he? Was there like? I remember you saying something about him threatening you about this whole thing.
Yeah.
And
Have
what
you
exactly happened with that?
Basically, it was along the lines of, you'll go to jail for an assassination attempt. But speaking of those assassination attempts on Nick Fuentes' life at his home, I know Milo has some sway in these actions and of aggression against Nicholas and his family. I know, because I've received that evidence over text.
Why
Have
do
you
you think
considered
he's?
releasing? Sorry.
Yeah, have you considered? No, go. Yeah, go ahead. Have you considered
Have you
releasing
Not
considered-
those?
until I go through the necessary legal channels, okay?
Okay. Why do you think he cares so much about
I know
attacking Nick
exactly why.
Fuentes?
You want to hear this
Why?
contract? Are you guys ready for this?
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
He is sexually attracted to Nick, and he has pursued him relentlessly in a creepy, sexual, gay way. I don't know if Nick Fuentes is gay. That's not my fucking business. And even if he was, I don't give a shit. What does matter is that when you make unwanted advances, whether they're gay or not, that's assault, that's weird, that's stalking. This is a bizarre gay love triangle where it's not even a love triangle, it's just one obsessive OCD gay man creeping on a younger guy he's attracted to, and he can't admit it.
So this isn't. What you're saying is this has nothing to do with political motivation. This is like a personal
No.
thing
Yes, it's
because he's sexually attracted
all
to
being
Nick
and petty.
Fuentes.
Yes, he wants to. As weird as that sounds, it is what it is because I've had it confirmed.
How exactly did you have that confirmed? Can you talk about that, or?
Not saying by who at this time.
Okay. But what you're saying is this was orchestrated by Milo because he finds him attractive
Sexually.
sexually.
Yep.
Interesting. That's just that's kind of a big accusation, you know?
What led you to this assumption or conclusion?
Well, when you have the Berwyn police put out some certain documents, screenshots, text chains in front of you, which I will not be disclosing at this time, with some pretty concrete homosexual activity on them that is consistent with the way Milo speaks, with the way Milo communicates and harasses people, I don't really have reason not to believe that. Could it be more nuanced than that? Sure. I don't know the whole story. It's a weird look, though. It's worth considering. You make your own assumptions.
This was on like an alt
okay,
alt
fair.
account. Do you think it was ran by Milo? Is that what you're saying?
I do.
Okay. And just because it was consistent with the way he harasses people, therefore you may think he's the one doing it.
Mm-hmm.
Have you been in contact with Nick Fuentes personally regarding this?
Yep.
Has he reached out to you about this? And does he think that's what's going on also?
We have not discussed that.
Okay.
And I don't.
Because a lot of people don't like him, so it's like it's hard to kind of make that connection with Milo and him because there's a lot of people out there who don't like him, and I don't think that's the first time somebody has came to his house or something like that. So
I wholeheartedly think a lot of these intimidation tactics used by these strangers, these crazed strangers, is because of Milo's influence or sway in some capacity.
Interesting. And what was the last time you had contact with him, with Milo personally? Do you remember what he said?
Ballpark, 2.5 months ago.
2.5 months ago. Okay. And this was around, I'm guessing, this was in November last time.
Mid-early November, I would say that.
Okay. Wow, that's a lot. That's a lot to take in right there. A lot
What
of.
did you guys talk about in November?
Was this when he was threatening you? Yeah. What did you guys talk about?
I would text him just random stuff I wanted to show him, and either he would ghost me or he would say like a 1 or 3 word response that was either like along the lines of "okay, got it" or like "don't contact me." He was very inconsistent, extremely inconsistent. I didn't know if I was on bad terms with him or good, so I ended it. So there's no terms to be on, bad or good.
But it seemed like all he wanted to use you for was to pay somebody to do that to Nick, right? That's really what he needed you for.
Yep. Yes.
And
Oh,
this is all part of an ongoing court case, right? Is that what's happening here?
yes, it is.
Okay.
I might have to get summoned to court.
Okay.
I might.
And do you know when this next court date is happening? Do you know when this is going to go when it happen? Like,
Totally
um,
honest. Sure.
okay. Okay.
I don't. But
And is there any other information about Milo that you'd want people to know regarding like this situation?
do not. I'm going to say this with all the emphasis. He is not to be trusted. He is mentally unstable. He is addicted to benzos. Confirmed. I've heard him on the phone fucked up. He records everything you say if you interact with him. Screenshots pretty much everything. His camera roll must be massive. For people he feels he can intimidate, use, and hurt. Do not interact with this individual if you do not have a reason to. Please. You're playing with
Wow.
fire.
Okay.
You're
Okay.
playing with fire.
This is a lot. This sounds like a very big story. I just wish we were able to kind of verify a little bit more of it,
I
because
wish, too, my hands are in a weird place.
right.
Okay?
But you did say that you had some content that we could release after this. I'd probably release it later in the edit. You said you had screenshots involving Milo, right?
Yeah, tons.
Okay, cool. And the ones you can release, you can send those over, and what we could do is we could just provide them in the edited version of this. We are live right now, so we can't just put it in right now, but we can put those in after the fact. But this is kind of a lot. You have the Milo story, you have the Zolt story, which is fairly recent, right? The Zolt story happened in October, correct? All
Precisely.
right. And so after October, that all happens, and shortly after, I want to say mid-November. I feel like this was November, if I could remember correctly, November 13th or 14th.
Yeah, 13th.
You are found in the Fishtank Discord space, both in the main chat and in the alt group chat. What drew you to this space? And why do you think there was so much drama surrounding your presence here? Because I know online you do a bit of trolling. And so my first interaction with you was you on camera, and I kind of thought you were crazy because I was like, what is she doing? She's walking outside, she's talking, she's rambling. Everybody else was kind of yelling over you and, accusing you of being a Fed. What, what drew you to the Fish Tank Discord space? How'd you end up here?
That is an even bigger bombshell. Already?
Yes, give it to me.
I had never heard of Fishtank in my life. I had no idea this show existed. It was in November. I wake up really early, around 6 o'clock every day in the morning. I was just about to wake up, get my day started. It's about 6:40 a.m. I get an anonymous group chat call. I think it's one of my friends. I don't really look at the usernames. I just kind of hit accept.
This was through Discord, right?
This was through
The
my
group call. Okay.
Yeah. In it are 4 anonymous accounts. I
Right.
press accept. Immediately, I am bombarded by 4 adult men screaming at me, "Hey babe, hey babe, hey babe, we want to talk to you. Do you want to come on our show? Hey babe." And I start yelling. At the time, I was struggling with some slight low level stimulant abuse, which has now been resolved pretty much. is in control. I was really tired. I was not having it. I said, I kept repeating, who are you people? Please tell me who you are. I don't usually talk to randos. They start saying the word Fishtank over and over again. I'm like, I don't know what that is. I look it up real quick because I start freaking out. It's Sam Hyde, Jet Neptune, a British person I don't know, but it was a person with a British accent, and one other person.
Okay.
I
This was
find
before
out,
you joined the Discords, right? This was before you joined the Discords?
yes,
Okay.
I start getting really fed up because Sam starts shouting at me and it's starting to trigger my seizures. I say, can you please stop? This is making my seizures making me irritated to the point where I feel faint. And he only gets louder. I then say, Sam Hyde, if you weren't such an irrelevant maybe you should go take care of your rape baby you had with a underage kid that you don't even pay child support for. They become irate and they hang up. Maybe about a week later, I get sent a link from an anonymous account I don't remember on my Twitter that says, join this, we want to talk to you.
Wait, how did you know the initial call, right? The initial Discord call with, you said there was 3 individuals who called you on Discord, right? And you're telling me that it was Sam, Jet, Neptune, and a British individual or somebody with a British accent?
British accent.
Did they cam up for you? How did you know for sure it was them and not some trolls?
Because they kept saying Jet. And it sounded exactly like Sam Hyde. I used to watch $1 Million Extreme in high school.
Okay.
I know that everywhere.
How do you think they found you? I mean, I'm trying to find like how they found you, and
that's the weird part. Because I had
if
my
they wanted you to if they wanted you to get on the show, why wouldn't they go? Because there's like a more professional way they get people to get on the show, and it's usually not by prank calling or trolling you through Discord. So I'm trying to figure out what's that.
But I knew what I heard. And I have screenshots of the accounts.
Okay, yeah, I've seen those screenshots. Yes.
And then before I was booted from their call, they were talking about how should we play with the fish, and they were talking about banana peels and rotten bananas and all this shit.
Okay. And this was I believe this was the beginning of season 3. So you're saying they called you and they were trying to get you on the show in some way or form. Do you know how they found you? I mean, if this was them, do you know how they found you? I mean,
No, I don't. And that's actually kind of disconcerting, considering I didn't have my Discord linked publicly. It might have been public somewhere, or it had been leaked. I truly don't know. Because none of them were mutual.
So this call is what led you to joining the Fishtank Discord servers.
No, I didn't want to join. I didn't want to be involved with these people. With all due respect, you guys are cool. You're cool. We're cool now. No beef. But I was really not impressed with their first impression, so I didn't want to join. I get sent a link from an anonymous account I don't remember the user of. I'm sure it's in my DM somewhere. I say, okay, what the fuck is this about? What do they want from me? I join the chat. I'm just confronted with a naked woman named Cassandra putting a rotisserie chicken covered hand in her.
Yeah, we are very familiar with Cassandra, yeah.
I say to myself, oh, this is a shit show, isn't it? So I play along. I act like a shithead lolcow too. Because that's what they want. That's what the fucking fish tank is. Exploiting mentally ill. That's what it is. I'm not really fond of the concept of fish tank. I would personally never watch this show. I'll associate with you guys. I think most of you guys are actually pretty nice. I don't fuck with the show. I wouldn't do that to someone who's struggling. No. And yeah, if they are a lol cow, a horror cow who's like a fucking bad person, yeah, they deserve that flack. I get that. You guys wanted a show? I gave you a show. I said, yeah, I'm a necrophile. I kids, I dead kids. Like, yeah, you guys want some sort of absurd reaction, and I gave you that. But
But
apparently, it was not moral enough for some people, so I got banned. Whatever.
I think more recently though, if you got the chance to get on the show, would you want to be on the show? If you got the chance, if they contacted you again in a more professional manner, rather than troll you on a random Discord call, if it even was them, because I'm going to be honest with you, I personally don't think that they would do that. I know you're saying that it sounds like Sam and it sounded like Jet.
Like kept
And they were-
saying those names over again. I don't know. It
Uh-huh.
just it was disconcerting. It didn't sit well with me.
It's just interesting that would happen. But still, though, I mean, would you be interested in being on the show? I mean, you are very interesting. I'm not gonna lie. I think I could probably see you on the show. I could see you on the show.
I would do it under a certain condition.
What would that condition be? Would it be the would it be the women thing? I know you said you have trouble interacting with women. Do you think that you would get violent with a woman
Yes,
if you were on the show with one? Really?
No, it's not necessarily that. I can be baseline cordial with women. I would not be friendly to them.
I see. But you've been friendly with some of the women in this Discord server, though, right?
Yes,
I mean,
I am, but it's an online dynamic. I don't know their true body language in person. I don't know what they're like in person. Some people are fucking compulsive liars on the internet. It could be a facade. I try to give people the benefit of the doubt. I do.
right.
If I was on Fishtank, which I think would be loads of fun, I'd learn some stuff. I'd meet new people. I think it could be fun. I would do it. I don't think I would be able to bunk with a girl. And I wouldn't say I would be I would like be horrible to them. I probably just wouldn't interact with them very much. My choice.
I see.
I don't click with them.
I personally, I think that maybe things would change. I think maybe you being on the show, maybe you could learn to interact better with women. Maybe.
I'm not willing to do that. I will be cordial, maybe even friendly, have a conversation once in a while. I wouldn't make it difficult to make friends with. From what I've observed, they're not really well put together young ladies and seem to have a lot of emotional ups and downs, which I don't experience or relate to. That level of bullshittery and drama is not for me. Would I go on the show? Yeah, I would. It sounds like a good time. Sounds like I'd learn some stuff about life. Sure. I'm not doing it to be buddy-buddy with other girls.
Well, I mean, you have been buddy-buddy with some girls in the server, which surprised me. I think one girl who always has her camera on, Stupid Girl, you remember her?
Yeah, she's a gem. I have compassion for her. I think she's had
You
a hard
guys
life.
you guys have like, I've seen you guys kind of talk to each other and stuff like that, and it seems like you guys get along. So,
Yeah, I'm trying to be better. I am. Conscious effort.
absolutely.
I don't, as I've said many times over, it's not pleasant being this way. It's not. It's actually a huge hindrance in my life.
Are you on any medication that kind of helps you deal with this?
Yes. I'm on one prescribed prescription medication. I receive an
I see.
injection of a very, very high milligram dosage of Abilify once a month.
What exactly, for people who don't know what that is? I personally don't even know what Abilify does or what it's for. What is that for exactly?
Abilify is an extremely, extremely potent antipsychotic
Okay.
used on very violent schizophrenics and people with
Okay.
antisocial personality disorder, which I both have.
Okay. So if you did go on Fish Tank, you'd obviously have to have
I would
have your medicine.
demand. I
I think,
need
well,
meds.
I don't think you're the only one who's been on Fish Tank, or I don't think you're the only person who needed meds, or or who would need meds if they went on the show. I think all past contestants were taking some form of medication.
Yeah, that checks out. And the good thing is the injection's once a month. So it's not really a big hassle. Just as long as I get that injection from a nurse, I'm good. I can behave. I might be a little out there, racist, intolerable. Hell, I might even be a Rachel. As long as I'm not chopping people's heads off and eating them, we're good. I would love to be on Fishtank.
So back to like the fish tank Discord, when you came in kind of acting like a lolcow, was it your
Yeah.
goal to be provocative here as well? Like, was that also what you were trying to do? Was that the same thing? Because I think that's why a lot of people kept calling you a Fed, because they felt like you were trying to invoke some kind of illicit reaction to them, to then get them to maybe commit a crime or say something outlandish that would,
That
I don't know,
is
get them on a watch list or something. You know
that
what I
is
mean?
you have to be a new level of self-obsessed to think that shit's about you. That's just a level of immaturity I don't even want to entertain.
Do you think what also drew you to this Discord was not just them contacting you or whatever you were talking about, but the fact that within this community, within the MDE or fish tank community, there are mostly alt-right people, such as yourself. Would you consider yourself
Yeah,
alt-right as well?
absolutely.
Okay. Yeah, because
If I
I
had to
mean,
generalize it, probably.
wait, sorry, what was that?
If I had to generalize an ideology, I'd pick that.
Okay, that makes sense. I think that's kind of what I would, I mean, although you are pretty ambiguous, I feel like that's what I would, if I had to label you, I would probably say that as well.
Good choice.
Um, for now, do any of my other interviewers have any questions? Would you guys want to ask Rachel anything or follow up on anything we were
Yeah,
talking about?
I'd like to ask you about your sort of your mental health, your schizophrenia, your psychosis, ASPD, whatever you want to call it. Just how that's how you've dealt with that, how that's affected you, so on and so forth, just throughout your life.
I knew from a really young age, and my doctors had warned, my psychiatrist had warned my parents, due to my very violent outbursts in early elementary school, that I had a possibility of being antisocial and what people would call sociopathic. I knew that about myself. I am very self-aware. I knew that was going to happen. However, the schizophrenia, I could have never prepared for that. I was never molested as a child. I was never raped, abused, hit. The levels of self-hatred, shame, and despair my mother and my community made me feel in Michigan making me feel as if I was an inadequate, socially awkward, unacceptable person and kid. I became, maybe around the age of 15, disillusioned with what was real. I don't hallucinate in the way people think a schizophrenic does. It's basically hypersynesthesia, which is a condition where you process your senses incorrectly. When I meet someone, they glow with a certain color, and I can judge based on that color as if it was a language that can be deciphered if they are a safe person or an evil person, and if I should avoid them. I can also taste people, not even without licking them or touching them. They have a taste, a smell. I can usually know what they're thinking. I also had very violent delusions. And when I hit puberty very late due to the intersex condition, the hormone off disparities that were very bad and affected the schizophrenia even worse. Because there are studies that have been shown that people with hormone differences or intersex disorders who are schizophrenic, the hormones, the heightened testosterone directly affects it, which I do have. I would get these sexual fantasies. Now, I'm not a very sexual person. It's not really my thing. About like burning down buildings full of people, and minorities, and I would masturbate to it. And I, of course, when this started happening, I was blatantly confused. But as the schizophrenia worsened, I became so vengeful and hateful that I let it take over me.
How old were you when this sort of started presenting these kind of like violent fantasies and outbursts?
Well, secretly, I'd had them since the age of 4. I would, around the age of 11, I would take animal carcasses I found in the woods by my house. I lived on like 120 acres in rural Michigan. And I would take these dead deer legs, I would hack them off with a hacksaw. I had a vat in my basement. I was very good at chemistry. I was very good at the sciences. I knew a lot about animals too, even though I don't like animals. And I would take these carcasses, have protective gear, gloves, hand sanitizer, all that stuff, so I didn't get diseases. And I would melt down the meat, the flesh, the fur, until they were just bones. And I would just sit with this vat of melted animals and just sit with it in silence. And that's when I really knew something was wrong.
Did you do anything with the bones?
I would make headdresses out of them. I would make art out of them. I'm very creative. I'm a musician, artist. I draw. I love art. And you know, to me,
Oh, I'm sorry. Continue.
it seemed like just a creative project to me. I wasn't hurting anyone.
Now, have you ever harmed an animal like that wasn't dead? Have you killed an animal?
No. I used to do this thing where I would kick like cats and dogs really hard. Like with I was an athlete at one point. I was very muscular and toned. I had a lot of muscle mass. I almost did really severely cripple a small dog once because I just kicked the shit out of it.
How old were you before we continue? How old were you when you did this?
There was maybe about 4, 5, 6 sporadic incidents of this where the animal was injured throughout the ages of 13 to 18 that I
Okay.
could get away with.
Now, do you still have violent tendencies? Like as of
No.
recently?
No, those are really under control with the Abilify. If I don't have it, I become very homicidal.
And just, I think we might have covered this, but just in case we haven't, for those who don't know, how old are you now?
As of recent, since September, 22.
Okay.
So have you ever?
It's been 4 years since your last outburst. Is that fair to say?
Yes.
So
I'm
it's
very
fair to
proud
say
of it.
that you've got it under control.
Oh yeah, this is like down pat. I know how to read myself. When I'm getting irritated or irate, I remove myself and I handle it on my own.
We know you're pretty open with it. Do you think that you being a lot like open with that, do you think it hurts your reputation a little bit? Has it ever like
Oh, of
ruined
course it
any
has.
opportunities that you could
Yeah.
have
Oh, yeah.
had because of
Mhm.
the
Nature of my sociopathy. Yep. It has derailed many things.
No,
It's derailed many things.
we spoke about this off camera, but I'm just going to ask you again. Would you categorize yourself or label yourself as a sadist, either presently or in the past?
The past, occasionally those thoughts will come up, but they're not worth entertaining anymore. I'm beyond that.
So it's fair to say that like nowadays you kind of get your kicks out of being provocative.
Yep. That's
Yep.
my coping mechanism.
Okay.
There's no need to be violent anymore. I could just do that. The freedom of speech in the country, that's legal. There's no repercussions for that.
Now, have you guys spoken about the inauguration event coming up? Have you guys touched on that?
we haven't touched on that yet. Rachel, is that something you wanted to discuss?
100%. I will be attending the inauguration of Donald J. Trump in Washington, D.C. on January 20th. I will be leaving on the Amtrak for D.C. in a couple days. I will be attending the inauguration in full blackface, with many other original DNC Thugshakers coming with me. We've been planning this a long time. I invite anyone on the East Coast or within a 7-8 hour drive who wants to come. You can come anonymously and wear a face covering, more than fine. I get that. You can bring flags, costumes. You can bring anything that's legal. I do recommend, if you would like to join me, and I would love for you to, we want everyone we can get to join in on this. Anyone and everyone, you are welcome to come. I recommend bringing protective gear that's legal. Look up online what is legal to carry in DC. For sure, you can bring a 4-inch blade and pepper spray. If that's not enough, look it up and see what you can bring. We invite everyone to join us.
So, are you scared of being attacked?
No.
Like, because, like, I know, like, at the DNC, you kind of got a beating. You talked about it earlier. But it seems like you took it pretty well. You just kind of got up and went about it.
Smiled. I went right about my business.
I'm just going to interject here, just for a liability standpoint, and say that we, Fishtank alternate group chat does not condone any calls to action. All members, all persons, parties, individuals can do what they want, but we do not condone anything.
Absolutely.
And saying that, please,
neither does Thugshaker. We do not condone violence.
What do you hope to achieve? I mean, is it the same deal with the whole DNC thing? I mean, you want to provoke, you want to have critical thought. I think that most people would just kind of hate your cause more, if anything. I mean, do you think there's a more effective way to get your point across?
No, not that I'm willing to do. I don't compromise.
So you not wearing blackface is compromising? I mean, I guess it's just mostly being edgy is your thing.
No. I just do whatever the fuck I want when I want to.
Is it fair to say that you do these things mostly because it's thrilling and fun, as well as
yeah, if I get bored
political
for more than an hour, I start doing bad shit. I have to be entertaining myself at every single moment, which is why I don't like sleeping.
Okay.
Because you're not entertained.
Now, last time we spoke, you were drawing a sign for the inauguration. Do you have that with you presently?
May Brandon?
Yeah, of course. We'd love to see it.
Yeah, go ahead. Let's see that sign. Yeah. If you can read it to us as well.
I will.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely, fellas.
Thank you.
One moment, Gems. I will be right back.
Take your time.
All right, Gems. Let's get ready.
Nice.
This will be brought to me at the inauguration. I shall read it aloud. I got my neo-vagina raped by an obese, non-binary, self-harming prostitute in Kamala Harris's woke, communist ass rape orgy. Oh my. I demand reparations from race-mixing ugly sluts, aka a mud shark, niggers of all varieties, trooned-out Palestine dick riders, white bitches under 6 feet tall, George Soros kike supremacist, anorexic pathetic retards, nonverbal autistic people, e-girls with borderline personality disorder, and victims of abuse. Legalize hatred now, and then there is a beautifully drawn chud that says, billions must rape. I am based. And my tag on X is right there at capital Q UEEN capital T HUGSHAKER Queen Thugshaker on X. If you want to follow for our content, you can do that or add me here.
And we saw you draw the Chud Jack in that, which is actually a very good picture. You said you drew it yourself.
From memory, yeah.
And I want to touch on something. One of the ways you get through to people is with memes, and I think you mentioned the term memetic science. Could you go into depth a little bit about how memes kind of help you get your point across?
So memes are an image, correct?
Sure.
It's a
Yeah, of
message
course.
relayed through an image. I am a guest speaker at a university right now, working with a very notable political scientist who has sponsored me. I teach and speak about and research image-based communication in American politics, aka memetic science. You communicate images for people who are obviously not blind and can't see. You communicate through imagery. That's how you process a large portion of information. Images speak so much louder than words, in my opinion. It embodies what's happening or what's not happening. If we do not incorporate images such as memes and viral photos into our lexicon and lingo, we're basically walking blind into things, not knowing what's going to happen or what to prepare for. It's like a buffer zone. It kind of gives you some leeway into what you're dealing with. It embodies an essence of the current problems we're facing right now, whether as a collective society or as individuals. That's why people make their OCs, their original content, because it means something to them and their friends. Memes are how people communicate now, whether we like it or not. And maybe even someday, we won't use words, only photos and memes. I've been studying this for years. I have journals full of this information at home. My home in Michigan. Memes for the future.
So you may, and most of the content you post on your Twitter, mostly. Do you have an Instagram as well?
Yeah, it's at Queen Thugshaker, but
Okay.
I'm not really good.
And are all of your memes kind of original content? Like, are they made by you or the other Thugshakers? Do all of you make memes? Is that what's going on here?
Yes, actually, one of our most notable administrators is one of them is a Shardy admin, one of them is a Kiwi Farms admin, and the other one is the second most prolific admin on polcomball.com.
Okay, and could you explain those websites starting from Shardy?
Shardy stands for Soy Jack Party, which is a beautiful collection of eclectic soy jacks, wojacks, cobsids, flartsins, the Marimuts. Variants of soy jacks and wojacks that I've studied in depth and wrote about in my papers. It's a beautiful website. I couldn't speak more highly of it. Please check it out. Soy Jack Party is the website. Moving on. Kiwi Farms is a notable forum online that's existed for quite a while that tracks lol cows and notable internet people and even doxes them. One of our members works for them. And lastly, Polcomball, one of my favorite websites of all time. It's a niche internet ideological tracking forum of every known internet ideology, whether made up, real, or kind of in the middle. It's a very helpful website. Professional meme makers in a sense.
Would you consider yourself a professional meme maker?
Oh, hell yeah. Yep.
And could you go into a little depth about the impact? Because I see them a lot, but the impact on soy jacks, chud jacks, things like that. I mean, you have one in your poster. Could you actually show the chud jack again? It's very, right there with the glasses. There you go. And could you explain the emergence of that? What they mean? What they comment on?
Yes. I will be making a comment and making an example of the billions must die chud. A chud is a variant of a wojak, but it's a very analoged, kind of zigzag patterned variant. It's not exactly a wojak, but it's not exactly not a wojak. It's inspired by one. in the original meme that was posted on the Shardy of the Chud, the first ever Chud, it was this fine young man with a shirt that said "Billions must die" and him pressing a button. Most people, aka normies and retards and leftist assholes, would not even fathom what this could mean and would see it as a right-wing dog whistle. Oh, God forbid. This is a very powerful image. This is an image that could encompass our entire current state of where American politics is. It embodies such an enhanced and depressing sense of pessimism that the country is moving, of the direction the country is moving in. I think it's one of the most profound images and memes I've seen in the past 3 years. It embodies doom and
And
destruction.
there's the old saying, a picture says 1,000 words, and here it is kind of in action.
When I saw
Um,
the beautiful chud that I have drawn on this, not the one I drew, but in general, when I first ever saw this post, I was like, that's deep as fuck. That's really deep. And I know it sounds silly and but I am, but it's fucking deep. It's a great commentary. Fuck newspapers, just post that everywhere. What's going on in the world? Billions must die. Billions must die.
yeah,
You
it's
know what?
crazy how much one silly picture on the internet could kind of make you think about something,
It's
whether it be
so
like a basic social convention like marriage, or there's just so many different kinds of memes that have these soy jacks, wojacks, and whatnot. I think one of the notable ones was the vegan wojak or soy jack, of him pointing with his mouth wide open. Yeah, just like that.
yeah.
Yeah.
You can name a meme, I'll know it.
Yeah. So it's like, okay, this is like becoming a very, and uh, I think there's been speculation about, nation states now using these memes as part of as like a way to propagandize their ideals. And we're seeing more and more every day, especially on X, now that Elon Musk is running it, so much more is allowed.
Absolutely.
um
Freedom of
where do you
speech should
see,
be absolute.
where do you see the Thugshaker movement going? Like, if you had to give yourself a 5-year projection,
Hmm.
where do you see yourself? Where do you see yourself and your organization in 5 years?
We will be, hopefully, in my best case scenario, working as a right wing advocacy group for individuals, youth, and anyone who has been negatively or unfairly impacted by cancel culture, whether they need financial resources because they got fired, if they need a temp job. We could offer, and hopefully, if we get enough traction, which I hope, assist these individuals who did nothing but have an opinion that people didn't agree with, as woke is hopefully slowly phased out and dies eventually. This cancel culture, woke, whatever, it hurts people. It really does. It really hurts people. And it's very intolerant. But my goal for Queen Thugshaker is to have my own show one day, whether it's a TV show, podcast, news station. I want to develop something great that can really inform people and also crack jokes at how absurd everything is.
I remember you mentioning the possibility of Alex Jones. What exactly is what are the details
Possibility.
behind that?
I will not be revealing too much at this time. I don't want to jinx anything or bank too much, but
Okay.
there's been some some movement, momentum, in me interacting with him in person in Austin, Texas.
Really?
Yep.
In what regard? Like on the podcast or on his actual
That
show?
has yet to be revealed. It will
Okay.
be, that's in the works. I think this is probably definitely going to happen though.
You almost remind me of a younger female Alex Jones or something like that in
The best
certain
damn compliment
ways.
on my life. That's thank you. Oh, seriously. Huge
well,
inspiration to
yeah, I think he's an inspiration to a lot of people. Is there anything else you wanted to say, or just anything that you wanted to tell us that we haven't really talked about yet?
two more things.
Sure.
If you would like to interact with me and the Thugshaker Nation or join the Thugshaker Brigade, you can follow me on my social media, which is my primary social media, at Queen, just spelled the normal way, Thugshaker. No spaces, no nothing. Queen Thugshaker, that's my official account. And if you would like to interact and coordinate, maybe even collaborate with me further for creative purposes, you can contact me on this Discord, which is, it can be linked, or if you are in the Fishtank group chat, feel free to add me. I will talk to you.
It'll be at discord.gg/FAGC. This is a Fish Tank Alternative group chat. That's one place you can reach us.
Yep.
I think we'll definitely need to do a follow-up interview to see what happens. Because we definitely love to talk to you a bit more. I mean, you're doing a lot of interesting things, and that's one of the reasons why we wanted to interview you.
I'd just like to interject and say that once again, for liability purposes, FagC is not a political Discord. It's a fan group, basically, of Fishtank. But in saying that, all members can do whatever they want.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we're definitely like interviewing a lot of interesting people, and yeah, that's kind of our thing right now. Fish Tank contestants, interesting people like yourself, and a lot of other people who are considered to be lolcows on the internet. We definitely want to get their story, and let them explain.
No, well, I'm not a loco.
Yeah.
No, we don't.
We're
Yeah,
not
not
saying
at
you're
all.
a
We
loca.
just
You're an
absolutely,
interesting person, but you're definitely
just
not a
interesting
loca.
person. Yeah, we don't consider you that, but Rachel, I'd like to thank you for taking the time to interview with us and explain the story behind all these allegations and whatnot. I think we're going to wrap it up. But again, thank you so much. We appreciate you.
Yeah.
You guys are
Thank you
great.
so much.
I hope you have a really good night. Thank
You
you.
too.
You do too.